So, good evening, guys, and welcome to interview preparation session, which is conducting by 360 TMG. And in today's session, we'll just go with some of the questions which we have been asked in some of the interviews. So, as of now, first question for the day, guys. So, is Python an object-oriented language, or what is an object-oriented project? If yes, Python is an object-oriented programming language. Then what is that? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, yes, Python is an object-oriented programming language. The meaning it can enclose the codes within the objects, and the property allows the storage of the data, and the method is a single unit called as an object. So as we jump into the next question, what is an Python module? What does it actually means? What's how it is and how it is different from libraries? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, what is this Python module? So a module is a single file which contains some functions, definitions, and variables which are designed to do certain tasks. So it is a .py extension file, and it can be imported to any time during a session and needs to be imported only once. So to import a Python module, there are two ways, like import or from module underscore name import. So a library, it is a collection of reusable functionalities. Like we do have many more libraries in Python of codes that allows us to perform a variety of tasks without having to write the code itself. So a Python library does not have any specific content to it. So it loosely refers to a collection of modules, and these codes can be used. These codes can be used by importing the libraries and by calling the libraries methods and within a particular period of time. So as we jump into the next question, what is PEP8? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, what is this PEP8? So it is an coding convection. It consists of coding guidelines and that are a set of recommendations for Python language about making the Python more readable and usable for another person. So as we jump into the next one, so name some mutable as well as immutable objects. So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, as you all know, list and tuples. So mutable of a data structure is available ability to change the portion of its data structure without having to create it. So these mutable objects are list sets values in a dictionary. So immutable. So it is the state of data structure that cannot be changed after its creation. So these immutable objects are integers, strings, float, booleans, tuples, keys of a dictionary. So as we jump into the next question, what are compound data types and data structures? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, so the data types that is constructed using simple, primitive, and basic datas, and the types are compound data types, whereas the data structures in Python allows us to store some multiple observations. Those are like a list, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. So these are just components. So as we go with the next part, what's the difference between a list and a tuple? I think most of them have an idea on it. Like if anyone have an idea, just try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, lists are enclosed with square braces, whereas tuples are enclosed with parentheses, and lists are mutable. So that is their element and size can be changed, whereas it cannot be changed in case of tuples. So lists are slower than tuples. Example A. 1 I. So these are the examples, and tuples are faster than lists. Examples 20, 20 x x. So tuples must be used when the order of an element of a sequence matters. So as we jump into the next question, what are list and dictionary comprehensions? Give an example of it. So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah, if you look into this, in this Python comprehensions, there were just syntactic constructions, and they have been providing a way to build a list, dictionary, or set based on the existing list. These dictionaries or set, there are some whitelist, alternating, or filtering elements. So these are generally more compact and faster than normal functions and loops for creating lists. So most you must avoid writing very long comprehensions in one line to ensure that code is user friendly and to maintain the readability. You have to avoid a long comprehensions to be mentioned as a coding part. So as we go with the next part, what are generators and decorators? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, so a generator is a function. It's returning an iterable or object over which it can iterate, that is by taking one value at a time. So a decorator allows us to modify or alter the functions, methods, and classes. So as we jump into the next one, what is the difference between all the three symbols which we have been displayed in the screen? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this percentile, it is a modulus operator that returns a reminder after the division. Slash single slash, it is an operator that returns the quotient after the division. Double slash, it is a float division which removes the round off. Removes the float values and just gives the round offs. So as we go with the next one, what is the difference between is and equal to? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, what's the difference between is and equal to? So this checks for equality between the variables and is checks for identity of the variable. So that's the only difference between them. So as we go with the next part, what is the difference between indexing and slicing? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, indexing is extracting or lookup on one or particular values in a data structures, whereas slicing retrieves a sequence of elements. So as we jump into the next question, what is lambda function? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, what is this lambda function? So it is an anonymous or nameless function. So this function are also called as anonymous because they are not declared in the standard manner by using the def keywords. So it does not require the written keyword as well. So these are implicit in the functions. The functions can have any number of parameters but can have just one statement and return just one value in the form of an expression, so they cannot contain commands or multiple expressions. So as we jump into the next question, what is the difference between del, clear, remove and pop in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this del, it deletes the respect it basically deletes the position of a value. It does not return which value is deleted. It also changes the index towards the right by decreasing one value. So it can also be used to delete the entire data structure. So as we go with the clear, it clears the whole list. Remove, it removes, it deletes with respect to the values. Hence it can be used if you know which particular value must be deleted. Pop by default removes the last element and also returns back which value is deleted. So it is used extensively when we would want to create a referencing. In a sense, we can store this delete return values in a variable and use it further. So as we go with the next question, what is the difference between a range, X range and a range? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, what's the difference between a range, xrange, and arrange? This range, it returns a Python list object, which is of integers, and it is a function of base Python. So this xrange, it returns an range object. So arrange, it is a function in NumPy library, and it can return fractional values as well. So as we go with the next question, what is the difference between pass, continue, and break functions? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah, so as we look into this, what's the difference between a pass, continue, and a break function? This pass function, so it is used when you need some block of code synthetically, but you want to skip its execution part. So this is basically a null operation. Nothing happens when this is executed. So if you go with the continue statement, so it allows to skip some part of a loop when some specific condition is met and the control is transferred to the being of the loop. So this loop does not terminate but continues with the next iteration. So as we go with the break part, so it allows the loop to terminate when condition is met and the control of the program flows to the statement immediately after the body of the loop. So if the break statement is inside a nested loop, then the break statement will terminate the innermost loop. Okay. So as we jump into the next question, what are namespaces in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, a namespace is a naming system that is used to ensure that every object has unique name. So it is like space is assigned to every variable which is mapped to the object. So when we call out this variable, this assigned spaces or containers is searched and hence the corresponding object as well. So Python maintains this dictionary for this purpose. So as we go with the next question, what is the difference between a global as well as a local variable? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah, so as we look into this, what's the difference between a global and a local variable? Global variable are the ones that are defined and declared outside a function, and where we need to use them inside a function. So a variable declared inside a function with by using this local scope is known as a local variable, which we declare outside a function is called as a global variable. That's the only difference between them. So as we go with the next question, what is a default value? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, the default argument means the function will take the default parameter values if the user has no given any predefined parameters values. It takes the default value which we have been uploaded. So as we go with the next one, when to use for loop and while loop, when to use those loops. So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, for loop is used when you know beforehand which elements need to be iterated, and if you want to iterate over every element of the data structure, then we have to use for loops. On the other hand, while loop is used to check for some conditions on the variables. Here we know that the exact condition to run, but do not know how many times to run that particular loop. So as we go with the next one, what is a class and an object? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, so a class is a user-defined prototype, which basically is a blueprint that defines the nature of a future object. So an object is an instance of that class. Therefore, classes can construct instances of objects. So this is known as an instantiation. So that's it for the day, guys. Thanks for joining the session, and we'll meet you in the next session. Till then, have a great day, guys. Thank you.